The Arizona Wildcats were a huge surprise team in 2023. Will they be able to continue that success with a new coach in 2024? Let's look into it. So, if we're looking at the strengths of this team, I would say the biggest strength is that they have the best wide receiver in the country, in my opinion. I think you could definitely argue Luther Burden or a Tej Johnson at Oregon and Missouri, respectively. Luther Burden, Missouri, Tej Johnson at Oregon. And there's other great wide receivers, but in my opinion, Tatora McMillan of Arizona is the best in the country. Really big receiver, huge catch radius. I think he's going to be a first team All American this year. And then I think the other big strength of this team is potentially a Heisman level quarterback in Noah Fafita. So he's undersized, probably about 5'9 to 5'11. It's probably his height range. Don't know exactly how tall he is, but he's definitely undersized. But when he replaced Jaden Delora last year, he put up really big numbers, and U of A kind of started taking off. They almost beat USC and Washington, and then they did beat Utah, Colorado, Washington State, Oregon State, UCLA. So he started running off a bunch of wins, and that was when the program really took a turn in the right direction. But so with him and McMillan, U of A could potentially have the best quarterback wide receiver duo in the country and definitely in the Big 12. If I'm looking at the weaknesses, I think the first thing I look at is the defensive line, just because it's not the most proven group. And then I think most of the other position groups on U of A are actually pretty solid. Offensive line, you do lose a player to the NFL, but you have your left tackle there should be, I think, some projected first round pick right now. I don't know, I say it's hard name to pronounce, but it's like Savaiania or something. It's hard to pronounce. But so the O line with him leading them should actually be pretty solid. And then you bring in San Jose State transfer at running back, and then you also have some other recruits in that group that are all very fast. It should be one of the fastest running back groups in the country. And then I already talked about the wide receiver group and quarterback. And then on defense, I think the secondary is led by Takario Davis, who should be one of the best cornerbacks in the country. And then Justin Flo's still there at linebacker. So I think, and there's other playmakers on the defense as well, but I think the main hole would be on that defensive front. And then the other weakness that I could see is the coach. With Jed Fish leaving, I think Brennan will be a good coach coming from San Jose State. But I think it's still a question mark because he hasn't coached at the Power 4 level. So now getting into the predictions. Now before I do this, I do root for Arizona, but I try to do these projections or predictions without any bias. So this is what I believe will happen, and I try to make these predictions without any bias. So I think they open the season with a big win against New Mexico. I think it should be a pretty comfortable win for U of A, and they should also beat NAU. I think you look at this Arizona roster with the offensive firepower here and the playmakers at defense, they should be able to win both these games. But then you travel on the road to Kansas State. Kansas State will be led by Avery Johnson at quarterback, who I think, along with Noah Fafita, and then Rocco Beck, Shador Sanders, maybe a Jalen Daniels. I don't know. The Big 12 has a lot of good quarterbacks actually, but Avery Johnson could be the best of them with how dynamic he is as a runner as well. And keep in mind, Will Howard's going to start for Ohio State, and he most likely transferred out because Avery Johnson was going to start over him. And then on the road, on a Friday, Kansas State's going to have a good defense, home field advantage, and just as dynamic a quarterback. Maybe not as good as the perimeter, as good on the perimeter, but probably better in the running back stable with Dylan Edwards coming in and then Gibbons already being there. And I think Kansas State's rushing attack is too much for Arizona's defensive front, and I think Kansas State's able to beat Arizona. And then you get your first bye week of the year, a good spot because back-to-back road games against Kansas State and Utah would have been very tough. So I think it's a good spot for your first bye week. And I think actually with the rest advantage and extra preparation for Utah, I think you get a really big win on the road in Salt Lake City. Utah's going to be really good this year. Cam Rising, assuming Cam Rising's fully healthy. And then the skill positions are better with Keithy coming back from injury at tight end, Dorian Singer, formerly an all-conference receiver for U of A in the Pac-12, is going to be at Utah. But so Utah should be a lot better on offense, actually, and then you always trust that defense under Kyle Whittingham. But I think I think they're similar level of teams, and I think Arizona put up a few more points, and because of the rest advantage is the main reason I'm giving them here. Before what I think is another really tough game, I think potentially the three best teams Arizona will play are all in a row right here, with Kansas State, Utah, Texas Tech would probably be the three teams I consider to be the best. So the Texas Tech game at home, I think Texas Tech can put up a lot of points with Kelly and Hudson and Conyers and those receiver and tight ends, and then Brooks at running back. I think Morton's going to take a big step up at quarterback, but I don't know how good their defense will be. I think Fafita, McMillan, those speedy running backs for Arizona put up a lot of points as well. And I think home field, and then me knowing that U of A is going to have a guy like Takario Davis on defense or Justin Flo, or I think there's just a few more playmakers I trust on U of A's defense for at home to make a few, maybe get a turnover or a big stop to win at home and improve to 4-1. And then I think you win at BYU because I don't think BYU can keep up. I don't think they have a physical enough offensive line to dominate time of possession. So I think they'll have to put up points to keep up with U of A, and I don't think they're capable of that offensively. However, a team that is capable of that, in my opinion, is the Colorado Buffaloes. You're going to have Shedeur Sanders at quarterback, obviously very good. Travis Hunter playing both sides of the ball. A lot of top-end talent at Colorado, but depth's always a question. This is in the middle of the year. I think this is a good game, but I do think Arizona is a better team. I think Colorado will keep it close. Shedeur will make some big plays. Travis Hunter might make some big plays, but I think Arizona is going to get the win here. And then I think a home game against West Virginia, another tough game. So this is it's kind of stacking up to the point where you wish maybe that bye week wasn't as early. But I think you get one more win at home against West Virginia. Garrett Green, C.J. Donaldson there. Pretty good running attack, but I don't know how good their passing attack will be. Don't know how good their defense will be. Now I think they'll play U of A tough, but in Tucson, I like the Wildcats. Then after the West Virginia game, you're going to have a road game against UCF, and I think at this point the tough games are just piling up, and I think it's going to be too much. You get lost. I think the fact that UCF has a really good rushing attack with Harvey and Boone at running back, and then Jefferson at quarterback, which I think will give Arizona's defense struggles because I'm not sure they have the best run-stopping ability. And then the fact that there'll be so many tough games in a row for Arizona during the stretch that I think they'll be a little worn out. And you would like the bye to come 1 week earlier here, but it doesn't. So I think you're going to get your second loss this season to UCF. And now you get your second bye. Coming off of that, you get a home Friday night game against Houston, who I think is on the lower end of Big 12 teams this year. And at home, U of A should beat. Now a big road game at TCU. I think Arizona's a better team than TCU, but TCU is going to have the bye advantage here. And I think with that bye advantage, they're going to make just enough plays to come up with an upset win. I think they'll be desperate at the end of the year here trying to get to a bowl, and it'll kind of fuel them to a big win against Arizona. But Arizona will finish strong, defeating their rival Arizona State. Arizona State, not a very good team this year. U of A should clearly win, finish the season 9-3. And with the Kansas State game not being a conference game, just 2 Big 12 losses should be good enough to send them to the Big 12 championship. Make sure to check out my full Big 12 predictions video to see my Big 12 championship predictions, and then check out my full and final playoff predictions for the end of the year coming out soon. Thanks for watching.